or indeed Sammy Weaver. I believe definitely not Sammy Weaver, but that's inconclusive. And then, of course, all hell.
They just assumed that the kids killed them.
Yeah, well, it's certainly in the kind of propaganda that happened after that shooting. It was all the Weavers' fault. The Weavers were the greatest enemy that America faced. The FBI came in. The Weavers were white supremacists when there is really no evidence to suggest that they were supremacists. Terrible, absolutely terrible. Ruby Ridge is one of those places where conspiracy theories come true.
All right, let's go back to west of the Rockies. You're on the air. Hi there.
Yes, George. Abraham in Eureka, California.
Hello
very quickly.
Sure.
I'm hearing people say that they attended these meetings and in turn coming with no names and very vague information. A lot of this information is information that I can make up. And to your guests, you say it's a conspiracy and everything is a conspiracy, but I believe you are a pawn in a greater conspiracy and your theories are simply misdirection. Thank you very much. I will listen to your response off the air.
Well, are you a pawn, John?
I'm not a knowing pawn. And the meetings I say I attended, or got chased away from, I did attend and I did get chased away from. And, the great thing about making documentary series to go along with books is that, I film everything. So, if anybody doubts me, they just have to look at the rushes and they can see me there. Now, whether or not I'm a pawn, people have said, it was mentioned earlier in the show that maybe I was allowed into Bohemian Grove, because they knew I was kind of, tolerant and would report it in a sort of crazy way. I kind of doubt that. But I'll tell you what I do think, is that I'm known in the United Kingdom especially to be a sort of moderate journalist. I work for a mainstream newspaper called The Guardian. I think people will talk to me more than they would talk to other journalists because they see me as possibly less of a threat. Sometimes that proves to be right, sometimes that proves to be wrong. Sometimes I understand what they're telling me. Sometimes I, write things that annoys them. But I think I'm probably, I think they see me possibly as being one of them. Which is
why did Alex think that initially?
About me?
Yeah.
I guess because he didn't know me that well, Maybe he'd seen the movie The Wicker Man and, sort of saw himself as Edward Woodward being forced into this, giant effigy. I don't know, I'm a sort of, English liberal guy who doesn't have an axe to grind. Maybe it was just the heat of the moment that made Alex think that.
Or maybe you are, John.
Or maybe I am. Although I'm not absolutely sure that they'd have me.
Next up, Wildcard Line. You're on Coast to Coast. Where are you calling from?
Hi, George. This is Eric in Minneapolis.
Yeah, hello, Eric. Go ahead.
Hi. I think I might have actually been the first person to tell you about the men who stare at goats and Jon Ronson and everything a couple months ago.
I do believe you were the first person.
Well,
awesome.
Thank you for spreading the word.
Yeah, it was a great book. I really enjoyed it. The way you took, it's kind of an over-the-top subject to begin with, but you handled it beautifully, I have to say.
That's great.
A couple quick questions, and I'll just listen off the air, okay? I was wondering if you have any insight maybe on the technological side of the Black Ops thing, or if maybe you have some clue as to their, overall agenda. And then as far as the occult stuff goes, do you think the people involved, do they actually believe it, or do you think it's more of just a means to an end type of thing, like trying to get everything into power, or weaponize everything type of thing? And then also, Guy Savelli, did you ever have any more information about him or more contact with him after he disappeared at the end of the book, or anybody like him, anything like that? And I'll just listen off the air. Thank you.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you, Eric.
Okay, well, Guy, it's Guy Savelli. I was going to do a radio show with Guy, and they had him on the air, and just as they went to him, his phone went dead, and I got really kind of nervous.
That's happened to some of our guests, too. Just when they're into something controversial, poof, they're gone.
Well, Guy told me afterwards that he was driving and he dropped the phone and it broke. I don't know. But the technological side of it, that's something we've not spoken about too much in the last 3 hours, and it's so interesting. One of Jim Channon's ideas in the First Earth Battalion was that military scientists should journey to the furthest corner of their imaginations to try stuff out. And a whole gamut of non-lethal weapons were really inspired by this idea, especially via Colonel John Alexander, who was, a good friend of Jim's.
Oh, yes, good man.
Yeah, was inspired by all of this stuff. And he, opened up a whole world of non-lethals from the sticky foam through to the taser gun. I mean, he didn't invent these things, as you know, but what he did was nurture and support them. I know the taser gun's extremely controversial, but I also assume that lives have been saved because of the taser gun.
Mm-hmm. True.
And likewise. And, what certainly seems to be very much alive today in Iraq and in Cuba is the idea of sound weaponry. We know at Waco that they were going to blast David Koresh with these subliminal sounds. The story is that they were going to get Charlton Heston to play the voice of God to tell David Koresh to surrender. And they flew in this scientist called Igor Smirnoff, and they were going to lace some of the noises they were blasting at the church, with these silent sounds. And the only reason why that didn't happen was because the Americans wanted Igor Smirnoff to take responsibility if anything went wrong. And he, wisely said nope. And so apparently they never tried to blast it. But, when you hear these stories going on in Cuba, like Jamal al-Harith, a Guantanamo detainee who was released because he was presumably innocent, and I met him and he said they were blasting him, with Fleetwood Mac and Chris Christopherson, you wonder whether they were lacing those things with these silent sounds, either high or low frequency sounds.
He's lucky we didn't use old Tiny Tim songs.
Right, exactly. He was spared Barney as well.
Through the tulips.
Yeah. So I imagine, given the evidence that I have uncovered in the Monasteric Goats, that these sound technologies, are certainly being looked at today in the various different, detainee camps. I think, and this goes on to another of the questions just now, is that the way to look at Guantanamo and Abu Ghraib and the other camps is the same way that you should look at Waco, which is basically that they're like experimental labs. It's very rare that the U.S. military have a bunch of people at their disposal. It doesn't happen that often. And what seems to happen is that you get this kind of casserole of ideas. Let's try this, let's try that. Do you remember that guy, Jim Channon, the First Earth Battalion? He said maybe we should try this. And it's like, I said to Jamal, how did you feel at Guantanamo Bay? And he said, I felt like a guinea pig. It's like a golden opportunity to try stuff out on people.
And then see what happens. Final call, east of the Rockies. You're up with us. Hi.
Hello.
Yes, sir. I've only got about a minute, but it's all yours.
This is Mike from Virginia, and I'd like to ask John about kind of an unusual comment that Alex made.
Okay.
Alex mentioned that there were top gay porn stars there to service the participants at Bohemian Ridge or whatever it is.
Mm-hmm. Grove, yeah.
Grove. And I wondered why supposedly straight, conservative Christian males would consort with gay male porn stars.
All right. Do you know anything about that, John? That's what Alex said.
Well, there's been a lot of rumors for a lot of years that prostitutes are flown into the Grove. Now, whether they're male or female prostitutes, I really don't know. But apparently, hookers from all over the place, turn up
Indeed.
Into the vicinity.
A strange place. Jon Ronson, thank you so much. Good luck with this latest book.
Thank you.
The Men Who Stare at Goats. Okay, I appreciate you being on the program.
Thanks for having me. I enjoyed it.
Okay, my pleasure. That's Jon Ronson, live in London. For Steve Carr, Dan Galante, Tom Danheiser, Lisa Lyon, Lex Lonehood, Sean Ladasor, Ian Punnett, and Art Bell, I'm George Norrie, somewhere out there on Coast to Coast AM. I'll see you on our next edition. Until then, please be safe, everyone.